recording. Tapos tignan natin kung connecting. Nag-live na tayo, Kuya Noel. Magandang gabi na naman po sa inyo lahat.
Yun ang trademark ni Tito Alves. Yung magandang gabi. Magandang umaga sa lahat ng mga taga-Pilipinas yan. Lunes na, Brad.
Bilis ng panahon. May 3 na ata sa ibang mundo.
Sa ibang mundo ay May 3 na. Dito sa atin sa Winnipeg, ang oras po ay alas 10 ng gabi. Kayo po ay nakikinig sa Kuya Noel and Tito Alves Show. Late night edition. Ayan, kaya suwabe-suwabe. Kailangan huwag masyadong maingay. Baka magising mga natutulog. Ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay mahalaga. Alves.
Anong topic natin, Kuya?
Na-interview natin si Shaun Loney. Pag-usapan natin siya last time, di ba? Nung last week. Dahil siya yung isa sa mga unang nag-announce na tatakbong mayor ng Winnipeg. Tayo ay nag-reach out sa kanyang kampo. At immediately, within a few days lang, no? Few days. Di tulad ng iba, inabot ng 5 buwan walang sagot. Ito, few days lang sumagot yung si Shaun Loney mismo. Usap na sa kanya. At sabi niya, actually, naghingi siya ng paumanhin. Dahil sa... nag-apologize siya for not responding immediately. However, yung pagsagot niya na yun, mabilis na. At gusto niya lang i-organize yung kanyang schedule. At binigay niya yung task na yon sa na-interview natin sa kanyang mga team. Meron siyang team na nag-organize sa kanyang schedule. So, tayo po ay nagkaroon ng pagkakataon. We were able to interview Shaun Loney last week. That was Thursday. And it has been recorded. So tonight, for all of you who are listening or watching in Winnipeg, Shaun Loney has declared or as announced, because it's not yet the official filing of candidacy for the civic elections elective positions. However, he announced his intention to run for mayor of Winnipeg, and we were given the opportunity to interview Shaun Loney last week, and it has been recorded. And tonight we will show you the entire interview. We talked about social enterprise, where his expertise is, homelessness, crime, and diversity, and even taxes. So listen to our interview with Shaun Loney, and let me know your feedback if you have something to say or comments about the interview or any subject matters that we've discussed. Our show, the Kuya Noel and Tito Aldo Show, is open for any reaction about his views on becoming, hopefully, if he wins, the next mayor of Winnipeg. Iyon. The reason why we spoke in English, because many of us are listening, and many of our non-Filipinos are listening, and they are waiting for this interview. If I'm not mistaken, we are the first Filipino-Canadian Facebook or social media program who did an interview with Shaun Loney, if I'm not mistaken. So we claim that, and we are very honored to have him in our show. Ito na po siya. Take it away. Let's share our screen and interview with Shaun Loney. Mr. Loney. He is aspiring to become the next mayor of Winnipeg. Pakinggan po natin. Let's hear the interview with him. Nakita niyo ba yung ating screen?
There we go. Yeah,
before
we're ready.
I play it. Okay, and here's hold on. Before we do that, let me just check if I'm sharing the audio. Hold on. So, yun po si Shaun. Ito ko. This is Shaun and this is me during the interview. And let's see if you can hear the audio well. We can always rewind it. Here we go.
Okay, hold on.
Meron tayong technical difficulty, Tito
Mine are
Aldous.
very technical difficulty. Sorry,
Nakamute ka,
I'm
nakamute ka.
muted. I'm muted.
Nakamute ka, Tito Aldous.
One moment. So, unmute.
Ulitin natin.
All right.
Hello, Tito Aldous?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, sorry.
Ayun.
Okay,
Ulitin
so...
natin, siyempre, no? Ulitin natin ang ating interview with Shaun.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tingnan lang natin dito. Sorry for that. Technical difficulty. We will do it again. I want to make sure that I'm sharing the audio from the computer. Hold on. Just a matter of adjustment here. Sorry, guys. That's the good thing with live broadcasting, as Kuya Aldous always say.
There we go.
Ang kagandahan ng ating live. So, pagka nag-share tayo, when we share it, we will share computer sound. There you go. That's what I miss. And here we go again. Tito Aldous, let's do it again.
All right, let's welcome Shaun Loney.
Can you see the screen now again, guys?
Yes, I see the screen.
And here we go.
The Kuya Noel and Tito Aldous show, the City of Egwatch, and it's an honor to meet you virtually. I'd like to say hi to our audience.
It's an honor to meet you, Noel. This is great. I've been looking forward to the chat, and here we are. It's wonderful.
There you go. I read it last week over CBC News article that you will be the first. I'm not sure if you are the first applicant, let's say applicant for mayor of Winnipeg. Why will you run for mayor, Shaun?
I'm just really excited about Winnipeg, Noel. It's a beautiful city with lots of diversity. And I think we can be an example to the world as to how we can really lean into that diversity and our strengths to address some issues that are really plaguing us right now. One being the super high percentage of the city's spending on emergency services. Almost half of the money that the city of Winnipeg spends is now on responding to people who are in perpetual crisis, and I think we can address it. We see it as Winnipeggers in the form of homelessness. We also see it in the form of there's a lot of people that don't have access to the labor market, and these are areas that I know something about, and I'm looking forward to bringing to the mayor's chair here in the city.
I would like to segue on that, on your expertise. I visited your website, and on the first page, it writes there, my work in the social enterprise sector has taken me all over Canada and opened my eyes to a lot of new ideas and opportunities. I'm not too familiar with social enterprise. Can you tell me or tell our audience more about social enterprising and how will it help us as a city, as Winnipeggers?
Yeah, sure. I think that traditionally when we see someone that's struggling, we think that a lot more government resources is what they need, and certainly that could be helpful in the form of, say, for example, social assistance or something along those lines. But for a lot of people, a job is a big help, because if you have the income, it can help you make good decisions and give you more opportunity and to pay your own way. So there's just a lot of people in Winnipeg, and I would include new Canadians in this list, both refugees and immigrants that are coming to Winnipeg, and so social enterprises are businesses, but the purpose of the business is to improve social conditions. And a lot of people in Winnipeg know Build, for example, which I co-founded. And there might be as many as 100 people on the payroll at a time at Build. And these are folks that don't have access to the labor market. So they might be people without driver's licenses, without grade 12 education, or without work experience. And at Build, they're hired because they have these barriers. And they're given work experience and training right away so that they can then move into the private sector and go on and live a life where they thrive. And I just before I came on the interview here, I Googled Philippines and social enterprises. And guess what? Social enterprises are a big deal in the Philippines. This is a strategy that is working all over the world, and in the Philippines and here in Winnipeg, and we need a lot more of it. And I'm just really excited about bringing that type of thinking to really supersize it here in Winnipeg.
How do you differentiate social enterprise into a typical corporate business setting?
Well, a typical what some companies are doing, and this would also, I would include the city of Winnipeg in this, is that they're beginning to do more business with social enterprises. So they're able to say, well, in the case of Build does a lot of painting and drywalling. And in fact, one of the main supervisors there is Filipino, Ariel Polverosa. He'd be a great guest for you sometime. And what Manitoba Housing does a lot of business with Build, and the reason is because they're getting not just drywalling and painting, but they're also getting job training for many of their residents. And if people are doing well and they're making a good income, then they don't need public housing anymore in their own particular circumstance. So I think that it's not about Canadian Tire itself becoming a social enterprise, but it might be about businesses like Canadian Tire hiring more social enterprises to provide them with goods or services. And most people, another example, who are considered disabled is an interesting term we use for folks in Winnipeg. Something like 80% of them want to work, but only a very, very small minority of them are actually in the labor market. So it's another example of how we can use social enterprises to promote employment in areas where there aren't any now. And I think it's an exciting tool too for new Canadians and refugees that are coming to Winnipeg to immediately be engaged with work opportunities. I'm just a big fan of work, and I think we need to get Winnipeg working again, and all of Winnipeg.
I think that will be applicable also to, as you mentioned, to new immigrants.
Yes.
When I was here 10 years ago, I was, the first thing that I did was to look for a job, and they want something on my resume about my Canadian experience, which I don't have because obviously I was just new to the country. Mm-hmm. So this might be a very good starting point for immigrants as they start their work.
Yeah. There's, I like to say, Noel, there's lots of work to do, and there's lots of people looking for work. And what we need to do is to connect those dots together. And when we don't connect them, and this is what I want Winnipeggers to know, that when you look at your property tax bill, we've reached a point now in this city where almost half of it is going to emergency services. And we have this debate between, do we fund the police more, which we've been doing for 15 straight years, or do we defund them? And I think Winnipeggers are looking at those options and saying, I don't like the looks of either one of those options. I think we've tried them both and they don't work very well. And I'm presenting a new way of looking at this, which is to say, let's reduce the workload of the Winnipeg Police Service. And over time, we will see the amount of resources that the police need go down. And that that does a couple things that I think are super exciting. The first thing is it frees up the police to be focusing on crime. Now more than half of the police dispatches are not related to crime at all. We're asking them to go out and perform duties that they don't have the mandate or the skills to carry out. So it frees them up to focus on crime. The second thing, which I'm really excited about, is that as the percentage of the budget spent on emergency services goes down, there'll be more money for recreation centers, for fixing potholes, and for for city services that I think as Winnipeggers we're noticing a reduction in over the last few years as we're just struggling to keep up. Yeah. And you look at homelessness in Winnipeg, none of us want it. I don't think the mayor wants it. I don't think the premier wants it. But we're using old tools to try to address it. And as a social entrepreneur, can bring to the conversation some new strategies. And I'm just excited for Winnipeg. And I'm just looking forward to resolving some of these issues and get us moving forward in a good way.
You mentioned about new strategies for homelessness. What are those? Can you cite us an example of what are those strategies?
Absolutely. The main thing, there's a bunch of just great news about addressing homelessness. The first thing is supportive housing works. So it's the most researched topic in the history of the country, that if you take someone who's homeless, you provide them a home, a simple home, and the supports they need to be successful, they'll not be interacting with emergency services nearly as much as they were before. The second piece of good news related to that is that providing the simple home and the supports, it's actually cheaper than responding to the perpetual crisis, sending the police and ambulance out afterwards. And so we've got politicians in Manitoba, and I'm talking both provincially and at the city level, they know that it's cheaper to do the right thing, but they can't figure out how to move the money because they're talking about, well, who's going to pay? Who's going to pay? And I want to start talking about who's going to save, because it's just basic math that, and changing that question really, I think, is an exciting proposition for Winnipeg, because we can resolve homelessness in the city without spending a nickel more than what we're spending now. And it means love, compassion, and kindness does a better job. And, as an entrepreneur, it's time we connect those dots.
Now, let's go to crime. Every year, homicide cases in Winnipeg, as we all know, increase.
Yeah.
Our city was even listed by Maclean's magazine as one of the most dangerous places in Canada.
Yeah.
What will you do to solve crime, or what's the program for this?
Well, here's a stat for you, that 75% of people, when they get out of jail, they're back in contact with the justice system within 2 years. That's insane.
Yeah.
And so since 2006, have been setting up these businesses in the inner city that hire people with criminal records. And the great news is that, it doesn't work for everyone. Most of the people who get employment at these social enterprises, they stop recommitting offenses. So I just think it's important to double down on work as a tool to help people get moving in a good way. So that's really number one, is that when people are getting out of jail, I'm not talking about changing the consequences. Consequences are very important, but when they get out of jail, we've got to be right there with an opportunity for them to change their lives around. And I have firsthand experience seeing that this actually works. The second piece is going back to this emergency services budget and being able to say, we need our police focusing on crime. We don't need them going out dealing with mental health issues or responding to people who are sleeping in bus shelters. So I think it's a double-pronged approach, and these are areas which I built my career upon. And one of the reasons why I wanted to run for mayor is so that we can embed this kind of thinking at City Hall.
Property taxes. If you are elected, are we expecting an increase in property taxes, or what's happening?
I'll be coming out with a detailed plan on property taxes. I'm really embedded now, being briefed on a regular basis by a really smart policy team around all kinds of issues. And I really want to get my head into, how do we approach our phosphorus issues, our lack of dollars to repair infrastructure, our aged community centers and recreation facilities. These are all things we need to have a plan on. But you're going to find me talking a lot more about the expenditure side. I think that's the conversation we need to have here in the city. And that's why I started out this interview by saying almost half of our spending is now on emergency services. And here's another stat for your listeners is that in real dollars, so in 2019 real dollars, the last 15 years in Winnipeg, all of the tax increases on a per capita basis have gone to emergency services. All of it. So we've got to address this emergency services budget. And I think when we do, we're going to free up a lot of money in order to inject into the things that Winnipeggers really value. And so, yeah, I'm going to be talking a lot about the expenditure side. I think we can be a lot smarter about it. And, we need to integrate that, of course, with revenue, but it'll be a balanced approach in that regard.
The budget now, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, is now multi-year budget, right?
But
So
it's a multi-year budget, but it's only the first year of the multi-year budget that is enacted. But it gives a sense as to where city council's going.
okay.
Yeah, but it's multi-year, but it's the first year that the vote really gives authority to the city administration.
Okay. Now, let's go to the city council. EPC. There was a study by, what group was that? It was published in the Winnipeg Sun a year ago or so,
Right.
which suggested or recommended the abolition of EPC, because
Right.
EPC creates, according to the study, creates two tiers, like one group for the mayor in support of the
Right.
mayor.
Right.
One group is deprived of information because they are not part of the EPC, and they are so-called the fiscalizers or opposition. And on top of the salaries of these city councilors, they receive more if they are EPC members, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Are you open to the discussion of restructuring or abolishing EPC?
I think that there's 18 months to this campaign, so it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. I think right now we just have approaches, and I use this example of the defund the police and the fund the police. Like you're either in one or the other.
Yeah.
And people often ask me, Shaun, we don't understand. We can't figure you out because you're a business guy, but you're also talking about social and environmental issues. And you're supposed to be one or the other. And so I think that there's an opportunity to engage city council, all of city council, and Winnipeggers as well through their values rather than their ideology. And that means we can build teams better because we don't have these camps of, well, are you left wing or are you right wing? Are you a defunder or are you a funder? And I just think on almost all files, we find new tools that can bring people together, and we'll get city council working as a team again. And so I think that is more what's going to be a unifier. And I do know that there are councillors that aren't currently on EPC are making outstanding contributions to the city, and we've got we don't need a one or the other. I think we need an and approach, and we've got to all be pulling in the same direction.
Gotcha. We're almost done with the interview, but I'm hoping to have you again.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. You're
because we
very
have
knowledgeable interviewer. This is very enjoyable.
I'm enjoying you. It's the first time that I talk to you, but I'm already enjoying the conversation here. And
Nice.
I'm pretty sure there will be more issues that we can discuss later on as we get closer to the civic elections. Now, moving to the political spectrum ideology, I know that you worked before with the provincial government during the time, if I'm not mistaken, the time of Premier Gary Doer. So you are a member of NDP. So obviously, the city or the city election, the civic election is non-partisan. So how will you weigh that? How will you get the votes of the conservatives or the liberals if they know that you are an NDP?
Well, I do have an NDP membership. It's and I did work with Gary Doer government as a political staff, and I ended up being in civil service as a senior civil servant. To be honest, though, I don't feel like I fit in any political party. I've donated to many political parties before because I see the value of people from all different political parties. People in all political parties running with ideas. And I just find that these old ideologies, they kind of serve to separate us. And the way I think about things, it's very entrepreneurial. And I'm an employer. We've won a lot of business awards for creating employment. So I'm very attached to the business community in Winnipeg as well. And at the same time, I feel a strong responsibility for my neighbors, and that we need to organize ourselves in such a way that everyone does well. So I think the way I look at things, if you're a conservative or a liberal or a Green Party, you look at it and you say, wow, this makes a lot of sense to me. And it's because I think we're approaching people through their values rather than their ideologies. And I just think it's a great way to move forward.
Last question, Shaun, before I let you go. If you will be elected on next year, fall.
Yeah, it's a whole year from October. So it's 18 months away. It's a long time.
It's 18 months away. And pretty sure I'll be having you again. However, if you're elected, for example, you're now the mayor of Winnipeg, after 4 years, how do you see Winnipeg after 4 years?
Oh, what a fantastic question. I love that question. I see Winnipeg with a bigger percentage of our spending on fixing roads, on fixing investing in recreation. I see a reduction in crime because we're interrupting these old cycles where people are in and out of jail and on the back of the police cars all the time. I see a unified vision around policing in Winnipeg that everyone can agree to, police, families that are struggling, and also Winnipeggers. And I also see a city where there's very little homelessness, and businesses have returned downtown. People feel, they're able to go downtown and feel safe and excited. And I feel people being excited about their city again. I also see a lot of green jobs that we're able to reduce the number of people that are leaving Winnipeg on an annual basis for careers elsewhere. and people wanted to come to Winnipeg because there's just a real vibe here that we can all buy into.
So, Shaun, thank you very much for your time today, and promise me that you will answer my call again.
I will look forward to that. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and let's keep in touch throughout the campaign. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds. And thank you for your contribution to Winnipeg.
Well,
we're a community of communities, and very grateful to be connected to you, Noel. So thanks. We'll talk again.
Thank you very much. Maraming salamat. That's thank you in Filipino.
Yes, salamat. Very nice. Thank you. Miigwech.
All the best. Take care.
Ayun, mga kaibigan, yun po si Shaun Loney. Medyo mahaba. Wala kang audio, Tito Aldous.
Mag-unmute lang po ako.
Ayun.
Sarap naman kausap niyo, Kuya Noel.
Ayun, si Shaun Loney, ladies and gentlemen, our first applicant for Mayor of Winnipeg. And we talked about his expertise, social enterprise, homelessness, crime, property tax, and his strategies on police. It's not defunding, or it's another approach. So maganda yung vision niya overall sa city, no? Pero let's see who are the other aspirants for mayor. I was just exchanging messages with one city councilor. I will not mention their names. Two of them. We're sending each other messages today, and I let them know that I interviewed Shaun Loney, and given this program is open to everyone, regardless of your political affiliations or whatever. If you are planning to run for mayor or any position in the incoming civic elections, let us know so we can talk to you and discuss about different things here that we should know, that the public should know. Ayun, di ba mga kaibigan?
This show is for you.
Ayun. So we'd like to thank Kuya Tito Aldo, si Brandy Bobier.
Yeah, thank you so much.
G-Watch, and also lots of our viewers from different Facebook groups who joined us today. Please share this video para malaman natin kung ano yung mga visions or iniisip ng ating, what are they thinking towards the city and the people of Winnipeg, if they are blessed to become the next city mayor. Who knows? All right.
Bakit may clue? Okay.
Yan, Titalos.
Okay,
yeah.
So
who knows? Yeah. So shout out to the two city councilors that texted me today. And you will know, maybe first in our show, the Kuya Noel and Tito Aldo show, first you will hear this first from this show, because they told me that they will let us know.
Okay.
Whatever the decision they would make in terms of their participation in the incoming civic elections. And hint, we've already interviewed these city councilors before.
All right.
From the south, in the north, in the east. Yeah, hint yan. Okay.
So it's 10:44.
Yes, and pasalamatan natin ating mga sponsors.
Yeah.
Before we close the program.
Thank you, Cyrilla's Calamansi Extract. Watch for this product coming soon. Or it's coming already.
Yes.
Triple V, the Ramos family. Thank you so much for the sponsors. And BDO. If you want to open an account, we are a facilitator of BDO, Banco de Oro, Kabayan Savings Account here in Winnipeg. Jeepney Restaurant, thank you so much.
At ating mga kaibigang mga abogado, si Attorney H. And then Attorney JB Casares Law Firm. And to all of the supporters, donors, sponsors of the Kuya Noel and Tito Aldo show, if you own a business and if you would like to advertise, just send us an email at info@diverseindustries.ca or just simply message us so that you will be part of this weekly night show. Ayun. Next week, we will be talking about maybe another community leader who will have a participation again in the incoming, regardless federal, provincial, or civic election, who knows? Or even school trustee, what will happen to the school trustee if the Bill 64 will be approved? But the NDP party is trying to delay it para hindi matuloy yung Bill 64, which will abolish the school trustee. So let's watch out for that, and let's wait for other issues coming out that may be coming out this week, and we will discuss it more in our next show next week.
Next Sunday, if it's not.
Nice Sunday again.
If you're not working.
Ayos. So,
okay.
Ito po ang inyong lingkod, si Kuya Noel.
And Tito Aldous. And
Dito lamang
saying, Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday and Happy Monday sa inyo lahat.
Happy Monday to
See you
everybody.
again next time. Thank you,
There
Shaun
you
Loney.
go.
Bye-bye po.
Thank you.